Right detail. Ball out. All fallen. Right. Headrest.
CRCC from site.
Headrest party front crank. White. Headrest. Headrest party rear rank. White. Headrest.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem. Mesdames et messieurs, si vous voulez rester debout pour l'hymne national du Canada.
Car ton bras
My name is Mike McKenna, Canadian Fallen Firefighter Foundation second Vice President, and I will be your MC for today's ceremony. On behalf of the Executive and the Board of Directors of the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation, welcome to the 15th Canadian Firefighters Annual Memorial Ceremony. I would like to introduce our dignitaries for today's ceremony. Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Mike McKenna, je suis le deuxième vice-président de la Fondation canadienne des pompiers morts en service. Je serai aujourd'hui votre maître de cérémonie. Au nom du comité exécutif et du conseil d'administration de la Fondation canadienne des pompiers morts en service, je tiens à vous souhaiter la plus cordiale bienvenue à la 15e cérémonie annuelle en mémoire des pompiers canadiens. Mais avant de débuter, laissez-moi vous présenter le dignitaire de la cérémonie d'aujourd'hui. Representing the Government of Canada, représentant le gouvernement du Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, le très honorable Justin Trudeau, Premier ministre du Canada. Representing our honorary host, représentant l'hôte honoraire de la cérémonie d'aujourd'hui, Canadian Forces Fire Marshal Lieutenant Colonel Lee Goodman, representing the National Defence Fire Service and military and civilian firefighters, and the Council of Canadian Fire Marshals and Fire Commissioners. Le directeur du service des incendies des forces canadiennes, le lieutenant-colonel Lee Goodman, représentant tous les pompiers militaires et civils de la Défense nationale, ainsi que le Conseil canadien des directeurs provinciaux et des commissaires des incendies. Representing the Canadian Fallen Firefighter Foundation, our president, Captain Robert Kirkpatrick, le président de la Fondation canadienne des pompiers morts en service, Robert Kirkpatrick. In the seated area, et parmi l'assistance, we would like to introduce some special guests. Nous aimerions vous présenter quelques invités spéciaux. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to please take your seats. Would our special guests please rise when your name is called amongst the seated? Chanda Ria, Minister of Parliament, Nepean. Karen McCrimmon, MP, Minister of Parliament, Canada, Carleton. Mr. Rob Chambers, Acting Assistant Deputy Minister of Defence, Infrastructure and Environment. Mr. Rob Chambers, sous-ministre adjoint Infrastructure et Environnement par intérim du ministère de la Défense nationale. Major General Sylvain Sirois, Chief Military Engineer for the Canadian Armed Forces. Le Major Général Sylvain Sirois, le chef génie militaire et des Forces armées canadiennes. Fire Chief Pierre Voisine, Director, Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. Le chef des pompiers Pierre Voisine, directeur de l'Association canadienne des chefs des pompiers. Mr. Troy Much, Vice President, Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association. Mr. Troy Much, Vice-président de l'Association canadienne des services volontaires d'incendie. Kim Connors, Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. Mr. Kim Connors du Centre Interservice des Feux de forêt du Canada. Scott Marks, International Association of Firefighters. Monsieur Scott Marks, l'Association internationale des pompiers. Seth Statler, Treasurer, United States National Fallen Firefighter Foundation. Monsieur Seth Statler, Trésorier de la Fondation nationale des pompiers morts en service des États-Unis. As we do every year at this time, Foundation First Vice President Doug Wiley and myself will now read the names of those firefighters added to the Canadian Firefighters Memorial. Comme chaque année, le premier vice-président de la Fondation, M. Doug Wiley et moi-même, ferons maintenant la lecture des noms de tous les pompiers qui ont été ajoutés au monument des pompiers canadiens depuis la dernière cérémonie.
Starting with British Columbia, Fire Chief Douglas Angrove, Victoria Fire Department. Captain James Armstrong, Richmond Fire Rescue. Firefighter Bert Bradstock, Revelstoke Fire Rescue. Captain Brian Congus, Richmond Fire Rescue. And Captain Hugh McCartney, the Vancouver Fire Department. Province of Alberta, Captain Paul Baker, Calgary Fire Department. Pilot Maynard Bolam, Alberta Forest Service. District Chief James Brosh, Calgary Fire Department. Pilot Ron Phillips, Alberta Forest Service. Firefighter Daniel Roberts, Alberta Forest Service. Province of Manitoba, Firefighter George Adams, Juro Tanker Squad. Firefighter Albert Fries, Portage La Prairie Fire Department. Captain Melvin McKecken, Brandon Fire and Emergency Services. Lieutenant Norman Rosier, Brandon Fire and Emergency Services. Province of Ontario, Firefighter Ronald Adams, Etobicoke Fire Department. Acting Captain Bruce Bamlett, City of Vaughan Fire Department. Captain Ted Barnes, Scarborough Fire Department. Firefighter John Beatty, York Fire Department. District Chief James Bolton, Toronto Fire Services. District Chief Dennis Bowles, Toronto Fire Service. Fire Chief William Bowles, Elliston Fire Department. Deputy Chief Terrence Boyko, Toronto Fire Services. Firefighter Ronald Carson, North York Fire Department. Firefighter Richard David, Welland Fire and Emergency Services. District Chief Charles Doherty, Windsor Fire Department. Captain William Donahue, Cambridge Fire Department. Firefighter Daniel Donnelly, Scarborough Fire Department. Captain John Dunn, Halton Hills Fire Department. Captain Thomas Ford, Toronto Fire Services. Platoon Chief John Gibson, North York Fire Department. Captain Edward Hartley, Ottawa Fire Services. District Chief Ronald Hutman, Etobicoke Fire Department. Acting District Chief Reginald Landreau, Mississauga Fire and Emergency Services. Chief Training Officer Jack Lodge, Windsor Fire Services. Fire Prevention Officer William McDonald, Bellevue Fire Department. Captain Barry Morton, Owen Sound Fire Department. District Chief Brian Oswin, Etobicoke Fire Department. Firefighter John Rumsby, Welland Fire and Emergency Services. District Chief Earl Sharon, Windsor Fire Rescue Services. Captain Ted Shuttler, Niagara Falls Fire Department. Fire Chief Joseph Simon, Brantford Fire Department. Firefighter Alan Stevenson, North York Fire Department. Captain James Stewart, Oshawa Fire Services. Firefighter Alfred Waits, Toronto Fire Services. Firefighter David Weaver, Niagara Falls Fire Department. And Captain Willis White, Toronto Fire Services.
De la province du Québec, chef de district Carole Balavance, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Lieutenant Serge Demers, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier Guy Forget, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier Normand Guérette, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier Henri Labrie, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier Guy Lacoste, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier René Lafrance, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. Pompier Marcel Marien, service de sécurité incendie de Montréal. From New Brunswick, du Nouveau-Brunswick, Chief Assistant Fernand Thériault, ville de Caraquet, brigade des pompiers. From Nova Scotia, Captain Brian Kingsbury, Kentville Volunteer Fire Department. I now introduce Captain Robert Kirkpatrick, President of the Canadian Fallen Firefighter Foundation. Je vous présente maintenant le président de la Fondation, le capitaine Robert Kirkpatrick.
Good morning, everybody. Prime Minister Trudeau, Fire Marshal Lieutenant Colonel Goodman, honored guests, fellow firefighters, and especially the families of the fallen. Welcome to the 15th Annual Canadian Firefighters Memorial Ceremony, as the Canadian Fire Service remembers those firefighters who have died in the service of their community on this Firefighters National Memorial Day. Today we are especially honored to have in attendance the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, and we thank the Canadian government for their continuing support of the Canadian Fire Service. Prime Minister, could you please extend our sincere thanks to your Minister of Public Safety, the Honourable Ralph Goodale, who has worked tirelessly with the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation to ensure the sacrifice of the fallen has not gone unnoticed. Special thanks to the Department of National Defence Fire Service and the Foundation Ceremony Committee for today's event. Please check your program for the dedicated people, organizations, sponsors, and companies that help us put on this annual ceremony. It is a privilege to have our National Defence Firefighters as honorary hosts this year. The National Defence Fire Service was formed 100 years ago at Base Borden in Ontario, and today comprises over 1,000 military and civilian firefighters. The National Defence Fire Service, which is more than a national fire service, is deployed around the world at bases, ships, and camps, providing fire and rescue to our military and, in many cases, often called upon to provide these services in hostile conditions. While the fire service and all Canadians honor and remember our fallen with this ceremony today and this monument, we must not forget their families. The Foundation pledges to continue our support with education and other support programs. Today we pause to remember over 1,400 Canadian firefighters, including those added today, who have died serving their communities since 1848. They have come from large cities, small towns, remote rural areas, and different branches of the fire service, and had the duty of protecting our lives, property, and natural resources. The Canadian Fire Service, facilitated by the Foundation, recognizes the sacrifice made by these families who have lost a loved one in the service of their community and is committed to helping them in some way, while making sure those who have answered their last alarm are never forgotten. Thank you.
Nous vous souhaitons la plus cordiale bienvenue à la 15e cérémonie annuelle à la mémoire des pompiers canadiens, alors que le Service d'incendie canadien est ce jour commémoratif national des pompiers. s'assemblent pour honorer la mémoire de ces pompiers qui sont morts dans l'exercice de leurs fonctions au service de leur collectivité. Des remerciements tout spéciaux vont au service d'incendie de la Défense nationale ainsi qu'au comité de cérémonie de la Fondation pour l'événement d'aujourd'hui. Je vous invite à consulter votre programme et pour y découvrir les particuliers, les organisations, les commanditaires et les entreprises qui nous ont accordé leur soutien dans l'organisation de cette cérémonie annuelle. C'est pour nous un privilège cette année de pouvoir compter sur les pompiers de la Défense nationale pour agir à titre d'hôtes honoraires. Leur service d'incendie de la Défense nationale a été mis sur pied voilà déjà 100 ans, à la base Borden en Ontario, et se compose aujourd'hui de plus de 1000 pompiers militaires et civils. Le service d'incendie de la Défense est un service d'incendie national qui va bien plus loin. En effet, ses membres sont appelés à être déployés à travers le monde, sur des bases, à bord des bateaux et dans des camps, pour offrir à nos militaires des services d'incendie et de sauvetage, et ça souvent dans ces conditions d'hostilité. Si d'une part le service d'incendie et tous les Canadiens se rassemblent pour conférer tout l'honneur dû à nos pompiers disparus et perpétuer leur souvenir grâce à cette cérémonie et à ce monument, nous ne devons pas d'autre part oublier leur famille. La Fondation continue à leur apporter son soutien par entremise des programmes d'éducation et de soutien aux familles. Nous prenons le temps aujourd'hui de nous rappeler des plus de 1400 pompiers canadiens, y compris ceux sont ajoutés aujourd'hui, qui sont morts au service de leur communauté depuis 1848. Ils venaient de grandes villes, de petits villages, de zones rurales reculées, et œuvraient dans les divers secteurs de services d'incendie, mais tout en partageant le devoir de protéger nos vies, nos biens et nos ressources naturelles. Aujourd'hui, grâce à la Fondation canadienne des pompiers morts en service, le service d'incendie canadien reconnaît les sacrifices consentis par ces familles qui ont perdu un être cher au service de leur collectivité et s'engage d'une façon ou d'une autre à leur venir en aide. Et ça, tout en veillant à ce que ceux et celles qui ont répondu à leur dernier appel ne soient jamais oubliés. And now representing our honorary host, Canadian Forces Fire Marshal Lieutenant Colonel Lee Goodman, representing the National Defence Fire Service, military and Canadian firefighters, and the Council of Canadian Fire Marshals and Fire Commissioners. Le directeur du service des incendies des Forces canadiennes, le lieutenant-colonel Lee Goodman, représentant tous les pompiers militaires et civils de la Défense nationale, ainsi que le Conseil canadien des directeurs provinciaux et des commissaires des incendies.
Prime Minister Trudeau, Captain Kirkpatrick, firefighters, families and friends, ladies and gentlemen. As was mentioned in the introduction, I am the Canadian Forces Fire Marshal, and I am here today representing the honorary host for this year's ceremony, the National Defence Fire Service. National Defence and the Canadian Forces Fire Marshal's Office are proud to have been involved with the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Firefighters Foundation since its inception. We are honored to support this important national memorial ceremony. I'd like to extend my appreciation to the Foundation for its dedicated work, honoring and remembering the fallen and supporting their families. Le service d'incendie de la Défense nationale est fier d'avoir participé aux activités de la Fondation canadienne des pompiers morts en service depuis sa création. C'est un honneur pour nous d'appuyer cette importante cérémonie commémorative nationale. J'aimerais remercier la Fondation pour ses efforts dévoués. En effet, le personnel de la Fondation se consacre à honorer et à se rappeler des pompiers morts en service et à appuyer leurs familles. The National Defense Fire Service is in many ways like a municipal fire service, albeit one that spans the country from coast to coast. We have a combined civilian and military fire service which supports the activities of the Canadian Armed Forces at their home bases and also when deployed on our operations. For national defense, fire prevention is and will remain our focus, but it is not a 100% guarantee that fires will not occur. Therefore, we must be vigilant in our training and preparation and maintain readiness to respond to all manner of emergencies, from structural fires to aircraft rescue and firefighting to wildland fires. And of course, we must be ready to respond to the wide variety of non-fire emergencies, hazardous material incidents, vehicle collisions, medical emergencies, and technical rescues. All of these responses place our firefighters at risk, a risk which they knowingly and willingly undertake. And so it is with this sense of community with all fire services that we join you today to recognize the accomplishments and the sacrifices made by those firefighters whose name appear on this Canadian Firefighters Memorial. We celebrate their dedication and their selflessness. We share the grief of their families and friends. Alors, c'est dans l'esprit de la grande collectivité de tous les services d'incendie que nous sommes là avec vous aujourd'hui. Nous voulons souligner les réalisations et les sacrifices des pompiers dont les noms apparaissent sur le monument aux pompiers canadiens. Nous honorons leur dévouement et leur abnégation. Nous partageons le deuil de leurs familles et de leurs amis. We count on firefighters to protect the public, to protect lives, to protect property, homes, and businesses. At the same time, as a fire service, we try to prepare and protect our firefighters from the immediate hazards of their profession. Over the years, there have been significant technological improvements to the vehicles, the equipment, and protective clothing that they wear. But we are now realizing that there are potential long-term health effects for firefighters, both physical and mental, that are related to the tough job that they do. Symptoms may appear while a firefighter is on the job, or many years after retirement from the fire service. So now, instead of just thinking about prevention in terms of how we stop a fire from igniting, we also need to think about prevention in terms of long-term health outcomes for our firefighters. We cannot fully protect firefighters from their occupational risks, but we can certainly improve their health outcomes through better awareness, better procedures, and better support for them and their families. In closing, to the families of the fallen firefighters who are being recognized today, I offer my sincere condolences on the loss of your loved ones. I also offer my sincere gratitude to you for supporting your family members while they were engaged in a noble yet hazardous profession. Enfin, aux familles des pompiers morts en service qui sont aujourd'hui honorés, je vous offre mes sincères condoléances pour la perte de vos êtres chers. Je vous offre également ma gratitude sincère pour avoir appuyé les membres de votre famille alors qu'ils étaient engagés dans cette noble mais dangereuse profession. Leur sacrifice ne sera pas oublié. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce. J'ai maintenant le grand plaisir de vous présenter the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Le très honorable Justin Trudeau, Premier ministre du Canada.
Good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Mike, and for your work as the second Vice President of the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation. And thank you to Lieutenant Colonel Lee Goodman for those words. I also want to recognize Bob Kirkpatrick's contributions to this event and to this memorial in his last year as President of the Canadian Fallen Firefighters Foundation. I also want to send the very best from a good friend of yours and mine, Ralph Goodale, who wanted to be here but felt that it was about time a Prime Minister came to this event, and I'm honored to be representing him here today. C'est un grand honneur d'être ici aujourd'hui, entouré de pompiers, de familles et d'invités distingués. Je voudrais aussi saluer les ambulanciers, les policiers, les pompiers américains qui sont venus participer en personne à la célébration annuelle du jour commémoratif national des pompiers. One of the first lessons we teach our kids is that when you're in trouble, call someone you trust. And that's why when Canadians need help, we look to the fire department. Our firefighters protect us when we're in danger. We ask these brave women and men who never let us down to protect our families and our homes. And they answer that call, serving with courage and distinction. A while back, I visited the Fredericton York Street Fire Station, where I had the opportunity to see a rescue demo. But the most impressive part of that visit, of any visit to a fire hall across the country, was meeting firefighters who talk about saving lives just as another day at work, witnessing firsthand their selfless dedication to their communities. But it is a dangerous job, and today we stop to remember the heroes who've fallen in the line of duty. Ontario lost Jeffrey Smith, Stephen Forsey, Rob Broadbent, and Randy Tereski, among others, last year. The people of Alberta remember the bravery of John V. Wagentall and James Hargrave. Saskatchewan lost Wyatt Evans. British Columbia lost Clayton Cassidy. Les Québécois reconnaissent et rendent hommage au sacrifice de Patrick Caron, au sacrifice de Richard Riopel. Leurs noms seront ajoutés au mur du souvenir, à côté de ceux qui, comme eux, ont répondu à l'appel. They were the best of us. Every time they went to work, every time they put on their jackets, they put their lives in danger to keep people around them safe. They are the help we need when we need it, without hesitation. Just a few weeks ago in BC, I met with the folks at the Prince George Fire Control Center. I saw firsthand, as I have many times over these past years, their courage and their willingness to keep fighting wildfires until they're out, no matter how long or how hard the job. À l'heure actuelle, les pompiers courageux combattent les feux de forêt et répondent à des situations d'urgence dans des communautés d'un bout à l'autre du pays. De la part de tous les Canadiens, je vous remercie pour votre service. Et aux familles qui ont perdu un père ou une sœur ou un fils, je tiens à vous assurer que leur souvenir restera gravé dans notre mémoire. The bravery of the fallen calls us to match their commitment to make Canada a better place. Their sacrifice calls us to remember that there is no greater humanity than to help those in need. And when we hear that call, we honor them. Merci.
We will now honor those active firefighters added to the Canadian Firefighters Memorial this year. Nous allons maintenant rendre hommage à tous ces pompiers qui ont fait l'ultime sacrifice alors qu'ils étaient en service actif. Le capitaine Patrick Caron, sécurité incendie, Ville de Montréal, Québec. Pompier Richard Riopel, sécurité incendie, Ville de Montréal, Québec. Captain John V. Wagentall, Lethbridge Fire and Emergency Services, Alberta. Captain Stephen Forsay, Toronto Fire Department, Ontario. Platoon Chief Randy Tureski, Whitby Fire and Emergency Services, Ontario. Fire Chief Clayton Cassidy, Cache Creek Fire Department, British Columbia. Captain Wyatt Evans, Swift Current Fire Department, Saskatchewan. Firefighter Jeffrey Smith, Clarington Emergency and Fire Services, Ontario. Fire Chief Rob Broadbent, St. Thomas Fire Department, Ontario. Firefighter James Hargrave, Cypress County, Walsh Fire Station, Alberta. In the past, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of a firefighter's shift, sounded each alarm, and when the call was completed. When a firefighter had died in the line of duty, it was the toll of the bell that solemnly announced a comrade's passing. And so, to those who have selflessly given their lives for the good of their fellow man, their tasks completed, their duties well done, to our comrades, their last alarm. They are going home. Autrefois, c'était la cloche qui signalait le début du cadre des pompiers et qui faisait retenir chaque alarme. Elle encore qui marquait la fin des appels. Et lorsqu'un pompier mourait dans l'exercice de ses fonctions, c'était cette même cloche qui scandait le deuil du camarade. Ainsi en est-il pour ceux et celles qui ont consenti le don de leur vie pour leurs semblables, leur tâche étant achevée et leur devoir bien accompli. Pour nos camarades, votre dernière alarme est venue. Vous pouvez maintenant rentrer. Please be seated. Si vous voulez, veuillez vous asseoir. We now call on Bruce Rushton, Chaplain, the Canadian Fallen Firefighter Foundation, and Captain Alex Lawanowitz, Unit Chaplain, Canadian Forces Support Unit, Ottawa. Aumônier d'unité, Unité de soutien des forces canadiennes d'Ottawa.
Why have we come today? To honor and remember those firefighters who gave their lives in the line of duty last year, and some that go back to 160 years. We remember the sacrifice of those who died serving as firefighters in their communities and provinces across this great nation, which we call Canada. Every day, you who are firefighters stand in harm's way. You are willing to lay down in sacrifice to save another. Sacrifice, what is it? It is the surrendering of something for the sake of something else or someone else. Something is given up. As family members who lost a loved one this last year, little did I know that day your husband or might be a wife or sister or a daughter or a son who gave their life in order to save another. The devastation, pain, and heartache you feel, all felt and continue to feel in various degrees today and in the future. No one else understands unless they have lost someone in this way can fully understand. The firefighter community always feel deep loss when they lose a firefighter, particularly in the line of duty, and also the various diseases and attacks of their body. We are here as a family in that sense. In these 18 years as a chaplain to the fire service and other emergency service, I've had to walk along the journey with many in this kind of situation. Almost every week, I walk into the homes of people who have experienced the loss of some sense of another. Before I conclude with the prayer, the firefighter's prayer, I'd like to read a poem written by a mother who lost her daughter in a very difficult way. The pain, it seems, will never end. The hurt is here to stay. The agony within my soul will never go away. It seems that it's impossible for me to make it through. I know that feeling, precious friend, for I have been there too. I won't attempt to offer cures that will not ease your pain, but I will say the life you lost, it was not lived in vain. It's being dispersed in memories that now reside in you, and in the months and years to come, they'll help you make it through. Today you feel the dark despair, but from the seed of memory, the life will multiply. The torment seems too much to bear. The whole thing seems insane. But if their life reflects through you, they did not do it in vain. I now share what is known as the firefighter's prayer. When I am called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save a life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it is too late, or save the older person from the horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and to hear the weakest shout, and quickly and efficiently to put the fire out. I want to fill my calling and to give the best in me, to guard my friend and neighbor and property. And if according to your will, I must enter death's call, bless with your protecting hand my family, one and all.
Aujourd'hui, nous réussissons pour rendre hommage, en particulier avec 3 pompiers courageux qui ont donné leur vie au service de tous. Nos prières sont avec leurs familles qui nous honorent avec leur présence. Vous en souvenez en tant que maman et papa, frères et sœurs, et conjoints, et amis et voisins. Aujourd'hui, nous nous souvenons d'eux et les saluons comme les héros qu'ils étaient. Ce mémorial est un témoignage pour vous aussi, les familles de ces personnes. Les familles qui se tenir à côté de tous les pompiers de ce pays. Parce que la fraternité des pompiers ne s'arrête pas à la porte de la caserne. Il s'étend à toutes les communautés de notre pays, à chaque maman et chaque papa, à chaque conjoint, à chaque enfant qui attend que son proche rentre à la maison après un quart de travail. Vous êtes tous unis par un lien indéfectible de force et de sacrifice. Regardez autour de vous, ceci est votre famille aussi. Et maintenant, je vais prier une prière des pompiers. Et pour ceux d'entre vous qui souhaitez de joindre à moi dans cette prière, je vous invite à vous tourner vers le lieu de votre compréhension. Et pour ceux qui préfèrent de ne pas prier, je vous invite de prendre ces mots en réflexion personnelle. Quand un devoir m'appelle, Dieu mon ami, et que les flammes sans pitié ravagent, donne-moi la force de sauver des vies, surtout de ne jamais perdre courage. Avec toi, j'atteindrai, avant qu'il ne soit trop tôt, le petit enfant blessé, le malheureux vieillard. Qu'il me soit permis, dans ta générosité, de leur épargner l'horreur de cette destinée, puisqu'en tout temps, il me faut être alerte. Je t'en prie, Seigneur, guide tous mes gestes. Dans le tumulte infernal de l'incendie, fais-moi entendre le plus faible des cris. C'est avec gloire que je remplirai ma destinée. Sauver des vies, n'est-ce pas le plus beau des métiers? Quand le calme revient et que chacun retrouve ses biens, c'est alors que je serai fier d'avoir aidé mon prochain. S'il arrivait que par ta volonté, ma vie, je sois obligé de donner, je te prie alors de veiller sur les mains et de bénir en moi le pompier qui y tient. Amen.